Okay, so for 32s, we're going to show you how to get your panel ready and how you're going to select your panel. So we have an image here. This is the image that we're going to be using. And you can see the dimensions of the image are going to match exactly with the dimensions of the support that I'm using. Okay, so you want something that's the exact same size as the support, not something smaller, not something bigger. Okay, this is the manufacturer of artist panel that I like. So that's ampersand artist panel unprimed. You can get them primed with gesso on them. You can get them masonite, but I like this because it's natural wood. It has a natural wood grain. So you can see this is the one I'm going to be using. And this is just plain wood that's framed out in the back. So it's going to be pretty durable. And the manufacturer recommends that you prepare this before you gesso it. So what we're going to do is we are going to prepare this first with, you have two choices. One is this, the golden GAC. It's an acrylic medium, basically, relatively thin. And the other one is shellac, which is what I'm going to be using today. The shellac is just going to take one quick coat of the shellac on top. This, oh goodness, this has been sitting in my, yours shouldn't look like this. And this is going to seal it. And when it comes time to clean your brush, you can't use turpentine on this. You have to use alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. So we just get a layer of that on the surface to seal it, and we're going to let that dry, and then we're going to gesso it. And that's it for today. Okay, so we're going to take what we did with the panel that we put shellac on. Now I'm taping the edges of it so that I can have a nice clean edge. So that you'll have the nice wood color when you're finished. So this is just blue painter's tape that I'm masking the edge with. Last semester I had a student who was not here for the demo and saw that all the students had these blue edges on their paintings, and so she painted the edge of her panel blue, which makes no sense. Okay, so we're using gesso. I'm using Utrecht acrylic gesso, and you can see that the gesso itself is relatively thick. It's thicker than I need. Gesso is going to be different depending on your manufacturer. So this is the Utrecht store brand for professional grade, and so that runs a little thicker. So I added to the gesso in this cup the white gesso, and then you have a choice of either using ultramarine blue. If that's not a choice, you have to use ultramarine blue. The choice is you mix it with raw umber or you mix it with black. Okay, I believe I did the ultramarine blue and black with this, but it could have been the wrong, but I don't remember. Okay, I mixed this up a little bit ago. And so we mix this up in a cup, and the consistency now you're going to see, I'm going to pour a little bit of it, is a little bit thinner than, see that? It's about the consistency of, I would say, house paint, okay? And then I'm using a foam brush, and I'm going to just spread this out on the panel with my foam brush. And you'll see that because it's thin, you're going to see the panel through it. The wood grain of the panel. And that's okay, because we are going to use multiple coats. So I've got one coat here, and I'm going to end it up with it going this direction, the grain going that direction. And then the next coat I'm going to put on going this direction. And I'm going to try, if I get little things in there, to get rid of those. I got a little hair, it looks like. Oh, that's stuck to the shellac, probably. So we'll put down multiple layers. It's probably going to be 4 to 6 layers of the gesso tinted this way, okay? Between every layer, you want to let it dry about 20 minutes, and you want to rinse out your foam brush, and then, you know, come back, do the same thing, spread it out, except the, you know, you'll end up going the other direction with your stroke. Okay. So this will be 4 different coats, 4 to 6 coats, and then we will do the next step where we're going to take the image and we are going to trace it. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the tracing because a lot of times students don't trace with enough detail. Okay, so we'll talk about that next. When we were talking about the gessoing the board, and this is almost dry, so I'm ready to put another coat on. When we were talking about this, one of the things I forgot to say is when you thin out your gesso with water, you want to use distilled water, or you want to use maybe bottled water. You don't want to use water from the tap if you want to keep what you mixed up, okay? Because if you use water from the tap and then you try to save this in a container, which you can do, what I do is I get a little plastic water bottle and save my excess gesso in that, the tinted gesso. And it'll last. But if you use water from the tap to thin out your gesso, it'll grow mold, and you don't want that. So, so use bottled water whenever you can.